everyone, my name is Lexi, and these are the books I will be reading during self-isolation. Hello friends, it's so nice to see you. I hope all of you are being safe and that you are all well. As always, my thoughts are with everyone at this minute. It's just a really strange time in history. For those of you who are watching in the future, we are currently going through COVID-19 or the coronavirus, which means that there is a pandemic which I have never experienced in my entire life. Basically, we are all just confined to our homes for the foreseeable future. Where I live, we are currently on a lockdown. We are not allowed to go out for anything, not even to a park, unless it's like a grocery store, like a necessity, or the hospital. So basically, we are just going to be spending a lot of fun times indoors. I need coffee. I happen to be a bookworm, as you can tell. I absolutely love books, and in times of stress in my life, the first place I usually turn are books. They've kind of been like a constant companion throughout my life, and I've definitely fallen in love with so many different fictional characters and worlds that I've completely lost track. And so I thought I would share with you some of the books that I am reading during this self-isolation, so that if you are looking for some ideas, maybe you'll find a book that you might want to read for a comfort read as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the very long list of books that I really want to read during self-isolation. We're gonna go ahead and kick off self-isolation with a book absolutely no one who is familiar with my channel will be surprised to see. That's right, everyone. The Starless See, of course, is on my self-isolation list. Now I can finally read this book. This is a book written by Erin Morgenstern, and it follows a guy named Zach who is a grad student, and he discovers a book one day in a library, and the book kind of leads him to discover a secret society and a portal world and possibly his destiny. I don't know a ton about this. It is an adult fantasy. Fantasy worlds can really suck me in, and portal worlds are wonderful for an escapist kind of mindset. Who wouldn't want to open up Narnia right now, like in their wardrobe? I would 100% go. I would love to have a tea party with Mr. Tumnus. That's all I'm saying. But I really feel like this is gonna be kind of like a perfect read for this time, just because it's all about falling into another world, and I think it's supposed to be very lyrically written. I have actually read the first 50-ish pages of this, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm very excited to continue on. Hopefully I finish it during my self-isolation. The next book is a book that was really huge on everyone's TBRs when it first came out, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I picked this up upon release date just because it sounded so incredibly intriguing, and I feel like this again is going to be kind of the perfect world to really suck me in so that I'm very distracted. This follows a girl named Alex who goes to an Ivy League school, and she discovers that there are all of these different secret societies. They all have some weird secret. I kind of know a little bit, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just gonna leave it at she finds out that they have a secret. This is a very dark adult light fantasy book. I've heard that there are lots of twists and turns, that it's a little bit scary, that it's got a little bit of magic. I think this is gonna be perfect because typically if I'm reading a book that scares me a little bit, it kind of helps me to get out of my own head. I don't really read a lot of thrillers, but the few that I have read have really taken me out of my own headspace. Everything is so action-packed and like fast-paced, so I think something like this will be kind of perfect for distracting myself. Next, we have a book that a lot of people have been hyping up here on BookTube and that I really want to read, and that is Sarah J. Maas's latest book, and it is called House of Earth and Blood, and it is her Crescent City series. So this is about a girl named Bryce whose best friend is murdered by a demon, and she decides to do whatever it takes to kind of hunt him down and get her friend the justice that she deserves. And I believe that she works with a person named Hunt, and they decide to team up to try to take down some of these demonic things that are happening. It's a world filled with angels and demons and very dark magic. It's supposed to be really gritty and really great. And I've heard that the romance in here is chef's kiss. And you know what? I need a little bit of romance in my life right now. Okay, let's talk about some adult thrillers. The first one is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I feel like most people who love thrillers have read this and have formed an opinion either loving it or hating it. but I don't read a ton of thrillers, so I have not read this yet. This is about a nanny who is writing her lawyer from jail, and she is basically telling him that she was framed for the murder of the children that she was watching. So everybody thinks that she was responsible for killing all of the kids that she was the nanny of, and she is saying that's not what happened. Let me tell you what really happened. So like it's her recounting all of the tales. I think it's gonna be really good. I'm really excited. I've heard mostly good things about this book, so I think it'll be really kind of fun and different. And this one's really short, so I think I can fly through this hopefully in like a day or two. So I'm very excited. The next thriller I have here is something that I've heard is really terrifying for most people, and that is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I'm very excited because I actually love Marisha Pessl. I read Neverworld Wake from her, which is a YA kind of thriller, and then I also read Special Topics and Calamity Physics, which is another adult thriller, although that one's a little bit more of like a mystery, I would say. This is going to be kind of like a suspense thriller, and I'm very excited. I don't know a ton going into it. I know that there's a detective involved, and he is exploring the case of a girl who everyone thought, I think, killed herself, but he does not believe that. He believes that she was murdered. And then it kind of leads him down this rabbit hole of learning about her father, who is this really successful person in Hollywood and had this whole cult surrounding him. So I'm kind of excited to read about it. I think it's going to be really thrilling and a little bit scary. I'm also really excited because apparently there's like a lot of mixed media in here. And I think whenever you include things that are like pictures or newspaper clippings, things like that, it makes the story feel a little bit more real and grounded. So I think I'm gonna love this. I'm really excited. Even though I have heard from several people who I really trust that this is absolutely terrifying. And then the final adult thriller I have here it's more like a literary thriller, and I think it's a little bit more of a mystery too, but it's The Shadow of the Wind, and this is by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is actually a book that was on my books that I really, really want to read in 2020, so this is kind of like a big goal to finish this year. But this is about a boy who is growing up in Barcelona, Spain. His father runs an independent bookstore, and his father one time gifts him this rare and special book called The Shadow of the Wind. And this boy grows up loving books, and he grows up loving this book. And then he discovers that all of the copies of this book are mysteriously disappearing. And it becomes kind of like this fascinating tale. He's trying to figure out who is destroying copies of this book, like why are they doing that? And then he has to guard his own copy from being destroyed as well. I've heard that people who love books will love this because it's kind of an ode to book lovers as well as a thriller. I think it's gonna be really good, and I'm very excited. So I've got 3 more adults to share with you. The first is a little bit of a more lighthearted read, and that is The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, and this is by Abby Waxman. During these times when things are really stressful, sometimes I like to go as lighthearted as possible just so that I can like become really happy and like my mood can be a little bit lighter. And so that's why I picked this one up. This is about Nina, and Nina is a bookworm. She has her dream job of being a bookseller. She kind of like has everything set. She's really happy just reading about romance and books at home with her cat. But then everything changes when she discovers that she has family that she didn't know about, and now they are all in her life and she has to learn how to interact with them. And then on top of that, I believe there's a little bit of an enemies to lovers with the guy that she is in constant competition with for trivia night. So I'm excited to read a little bit about the enemies to lovers. I'm excited to learn about her interactions with her family, and I love reading about bookworms because I can totally relate. Obviously, I can totally relate. So I think this is going to be kind of like a fun and very lighthearted read. Next up, I have 2 romances. Now, I don't read a ton of romance in general, but quarantine's got me feeling a little bit more single than normal, so let's read about somebody else's love life. The first one is The Kiss Quotient. This is by Helen Huang. So many people have said that this is so excellent and so well written, so I think it'll be really good. This is about a girl named Stella, and Stella has Asperger's, and she has just never been somebody who feels as comfortable with dating. And so she decides to hire an escort to teach her basically how to kiss and how to be good at dating. And I think it's kind of like a fake dating trope as well. So we get to see her interaction with this guy and how they fall in love, and I've heard that it is actually really cute, really quirky, really romantic. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really exciting, so okay. So the next romance was written in the 1920s, so I don't know exactly how steamy it's gonna get, but I've heard really good things about this author, so I wanted to pick this up, and that is These Old Shades, and this is by Georgette Heyer, and I've heard such great things about this, but also it was definitely a cover buy because it's so beautiful, isn't it? I think that this is so pretty. I need to read the back. It's like the shortest blurb, but it's gonna do a better job than me. It says, the Duke of Avon has waited 20 years to get revenge on his arch enemy. When the Duke rescues young Leonie from a life of harsh abuse, he finds in his new protege not only the key to a scandal that will shock the world and destroy his enemies, but also the one person who can transform his dark and embittered heart. I don't know, but it kind of sounds a little bit like we might get a couple different tropes. We might get a fake dating trope. We might get kind of like the bad boy trope. I don't know, it sounds kind of cool. I like that it's historical fiction or historical romance. I'm excited. I think it'll be really fun to read, so why not? Okay, next up I have some magical realism that I really want to get to. The first is actually a reread that I want to do, and that is Chocolat by Joanne Harris. I personally really love this book. I think that it's so magical, but I love this book so much because it's all about overcoming obstacles, but also it has a sprinkle of magic, and it also involves chocolates and candies and sweets. And if you know anything about me, you know that a huge comfort for me is baking. I am constantly baking. My Instagram is basically just one big cooking thing for my stories all the time, or baking. So this is actually one of my very favorite books. It's about a girl named Vianne who moves to this little French city with her daughter Anouk. They open up a chocolatier, and the people are convinced that they should not indulge in things like chocolate because it is sinful. But she sprinkles a little bit of her magic in the chocolate, and their lives slowly start to improve when they kind of give in to their desires and eat this chocolate. And it's really fantastic. I think it's going to be a great one to read actually now, just because I think it's such a beautiful story that it's definitely going to take me out of my own headspace, and that's kind of what I need right now, so I'm really excited about that. And then the next one that I'd like to reach for is an Anna Marie McLemore one, and that is When the Moon Was Ours. The premise sounds absolutely beautiful, and I love magical realism so very much. So this is about Sam and Mayel. Mayel actually can grow flowers from her wrists, and she is supposed to have come from the water tower, which sounds really cool. I think it's about both of them trying to protect each other from these four sisters who apparently now want the roses that are growing out of Miel's wrists. Miel, I don't know how to say her name, y'all. Okay, I'm sorry. I think it's also about their relationship. I think it sounds really beautiful. I'm really excited. Witches are involved, roses are involved, magic is involved. We love to see it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about YA now. The first book is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I've actually already read this book, but I read this book about 4 years ago, and I really want to refresh myself so that I can go on with the series. But the reason I want to read this is because this is about the 1920s. I just am slightly bitter because I really thought that 2020 was going to be like the start of our own version of the 20s. But clearly that didn't happen. So this follows a girl named Evie, and Evie moves to New York. Her parents basically ship her off because she is a handful and they can't handle her anymore. And so she lives with her uncle who runs an occult shop. Evie actually has a magical ability. She's a little bit of a psychic. She can touch an object and see the object's past memories. Apparently there are a lot of supernatural mysteries happening in New York, and only Evie can help solve it with her magical powers. It's a lot more than just that premise though. This whole book, which is huge, follows a very wide range of characters. We see so many people, so many other people have magical abilities as well. And this is a dark book. Like, this is scary. I remember reading this and just being absolutely terrified. Libba Bray is excellent at atmosphere, but if you want to see the 1920s, I would highly recommend this book. I just felt like it was so well done, so well written, and it's something that I want to reread just so that I can continue on with the series, so it definitely made my list. Next up is a dystopian. I'm off and on with the dystopians right now, but this is definitely one that I will be reaching for, and that is The Grace Year. I've heard nothing but good things. In this dystopian world, when the girls reach a certain age, I think it's 16, it is considered their grace year. That's when they have like this magical ability to drive men wild. And so girls are actually sent away to a place to live out the grace year and kind of burn off that magic, and then they come back. And this is following what that grace year is. It sounds like a very smart commentary on society. It sounds just really powerful already from the premise, and I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm really excited about this. It also has just the most stunning cover I've ever seen, ever. Next up, I have the Illuminate Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. So this is about two people, Katie and Ezra, and they break up, and then I think Katie's planet has just been infiltrated. And so it's kind of like these two people have to work together, even though they just broke up and things are kind of awkward. And we follow their relationship. We follow everything that's happening as they try to kind of survive what's going on around them. It sounds cool. It sounds really like fast paced, and I've heard that this is so awesome. I've also heard that the audiobook for this is so awesome. So I think I'm actually going to listen to the audio while I read along, and I'm actually really excited to pick this book up. I think it's going to be perfect for taking me out of my own headspace. I can't wait. And then the final YA book that I have to share with you is Caraval, and this is by Stephanie Garber. I've actually read this and I loved it, but I have not finished on with the series, so I want to reread this so that I can read the other two in Stephanie Garber's trilogy. So this is about Scarlett, who is playing in this amazing game at this place called Caraval. It's where I think like the ringmaster or like the master of Caraval does this massive game. Everything is an illusion on this place. So like all of the magic isn't really happening, but it all feels really real. And so the game is that Scarlett has to retrieve back her baby sister who has disappeared on Caraval. Like that's the whole game. And I remember reading it, and I remember thinking that it was so atmospheric and just perfect. It was so beautiful that I really, really wanted to read it again. So this is the perfect time. I need a lot of magic in my life. It was so magical. It was so well written, and it was so like purpley prose, but in the best way. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. I connected with it so much. I just love the way that she described everything. So yeah, I'm really excited to pick this up again. And then finally, y'all, I have 3 more books, and they are going to be my middle grade picks. So the first one is something that just came out, and I just picked it up a little while ago, and that is the Unmapped Chronicles, Casper Talk, and the Everdark Wings, and this is by Abby Elphinstone. So this is about a boy who goes to a school and he is bullied. He normally hides from these bullies, but his normal hiding spot has been like taken or something. So he decides to hide in a grandfather clock. And when he opens the grandfather clock, it actually leads him to another world. We love to see it. We love to see it. This will definitely be one that I reach for ASAP. I have heard rave reviews, even though it's fairly new. I can't wait to get lost in this other magical world with Casper Talk. Next up, I have got Furthermore, and this is by Tahada Mafi. It gives me Alice in Wonderland vibes. I know that that was not her original intent, but it totally gives me Alice in Wonderland vibes. This is about a girl named Alice who lives in a place where there's lots of color around her, but she does not have any color. And her father, I believe, has gone missing in another world, and she decides to go and find him and bring him back. And it's just her journey and descent into Furthermore to find and rescue her father. It's supposed to be very magical, very whimsical. It's got so many starred reviews from so many sources that I really trust, Kirkus and Hornbook and all those places. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to read this. I've heard really good things, and I love a good middle grade fantasy. They make me happy like almost nothing else. So I am very excited for this. And then the final book that I have here to talk to you about is The Thief Knot, and this is a Green Glass House story by Kate Milford. So if you have not read The Green Glass House, I highly recommend it, but you don't actually need to read that book first. You can just pick this up. They're separate in the series. So this is about a girl named Marzana whose parents have been recruited to solve this kidnapping case, and Marzana is convinced that she can also solve the case. So she puts together this band of misfit kids, and they all form this like detective sleuthing agency, and they try to figure out what happened to this kidnapping. It sounds really, really great. Kate Milford is excellent at middle grade mysteries. I think she knows exactly how to write a very compelling plot and really well fleshed out characters who are very well rounded. So I'm very excited for this. I think it's gonna be really, really perfect when I'm stuck indoors and I want to be a little bit surprised by a mystery. And honestly, middle grade is kind of like my go-to age category to read when I am stressed, because it is so whimsical and so magical, and I always connect to middle grade. So I'm probably going to be reaching for these 3 middle grades almost before anything else. So I'm really excited. Well, that is it, you guys. Those are all the books that I will be reaching for. I'm also obviously participating in the Owls Readathon, so I'm doing that TBR as well, but I don't know how long this is going to last for. And so I think I'm just going to create this nice little pile and kind of keep it close to me and reach for books whenever I'm feeling a little uncertain or a little stir crazy, which I think is happening to a bunch of us. But yeah, I hope you found some titles that maybe you are interested in picking up. What's one book that you are reading during self-isolation? I would love to hear what you're reading, actually. Maybe it'll give me some inspiration to pick up that book as well. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you are all being safe. You're all in my thoughts. I love you so very much. And until next time, you guys, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye.
When you were leaving, I need you even more than I did before. You had the last word when you walked out the door.